Good morning, truth and transparency. It's noon here. It's 10 a.m. over there in Boise. I'm going to read really quick a letter a post that was put out by Kaylee's dad this morning. It's really, so here we go. Let's go. Okay. Right here, right now, we dig our heels into the earth and carve our line deep in the dirt. This ain't no justice, no judge presided, no jury weighed the truth. Thompson robbed us of our day in court. No negotiations, no jury of our peers, not even the pretense of cooperation and fairness. Cowardly men, gutless men, they scatter like roaches when the battle crosses in. And Thompson? He's retiring on this deal. His shadow slithering toward the exit, leaving only the stench of his betrayal. No spine, no shred of honor. He didn't have the basic decency, the plain human courage to face the families, to meet our eyes and ask, how do we make an offer that works? Instead, Bill Thompson cut his deal with the devil. His negotiations didn't require anything other than a simple guilty plea, allowing him the leeway to blame the same people you are paid to protect. You betrayed us, Thompson. Your deal fails to shield the innocent. You could have stood tall and made damn sure that the blame stayed where it belonged, not on us, not on the broken survivors, still carrying the weight of your repeated failures. This is our courtroom now. This moment, the stand. Our voices rise to every American who will listen. We would have provided protection for the roommates, the best friends, the fallen vet. Boom, what? God rest his soul. And every soul that is affected in our community. We would have carved our terms like sacred commandments, etched deep into underyielding granite, a testament to those who've lost and the justice they're owed. First, truth. Spill it, BK. Every sickening detail only the killer could know. The kind that twists your guts just to hear but turns every simpleton Kohberger against you. Second, you bear the guilt, all of it alone. You don't get to smear the survivors, the ones still waking up in nightmares born of your reckless choices. Third, no cashing in on our grief, no books, no private interviews with your ex-professor. No one is allowed to study you because you're not special. You don't get to spit on our kids' graves by making this all about you. Only Hitler can step into this void, mend the wreckage Thompson left in Latah County. Left in Latah's so-called justice system. This is what murdered victims' families' negotiations look like. It's ugly, it's raw, it's wild, it's anything but easy. Yet you, Mr. Thompson, didn't even bother to negotiate with us. So this is all we have left. There is no more time for us to wait for you to make a stand, so we stand in your place. Kaylee Jade Gonsalves, we love you, baby. You deserve better than this justice system. Your soul is not Thompson's bargaining chip. We do not accept his plea deals signed in your name. We're screaming for you as loud as we can. Kaylee Jade is better than this. This is our last shot. Judge Hitler, you are our only hope that our child's murder isn't granted control over his destiny and our children's names. You take control of this deal and make it right because now you own it. Wow. Again, good morning. That's straight from the Gonsalves family. I think that was really well written. I stand for it. I said that Kaylee's parents have been lied to. All these families have been lied to by Bill Thompson and leadership. Okay. They lied, gaslit that family and all the families. Her sister wrote a letter, and actually she makes a really good point about You know, why now? Why would you do this 3 weeks before? Like, you told us to wait, that our day was going to come, and you robbed them of that. I personally don't believe that they were ever going to take this to trial. This has been their plan all along. So I was interested to see that mentioning about the fallen vet. The only person that comes to mind is Brett Kapaka with that. So, geez, I believe that Steve's going to put it all out there. I think that he should. I only ever asked Steve to just, hey, don't say anything. Let this go to trial. Let it all come out. And we both agree with that. Like, the jury decides, not some fucking 70-year-old man decides. That's not our justice system. So, okay. Good morning. We are about an hour. We're 50 minutes out from. Let's go ahead and get this all dialed up. Good morning, moderators, members, subscribers. Hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down. If you have an opinion, make yourself known. Ramsland spoke yesterday to News Nation. Some people not wasting any time. Like, so let's see. I'm going to show you guys that. And here it is. I gotta slow him down. I think I have him 2 speed up. That's fine. 1.5.
Exclusively by her. Renowned forensic psychologist, Dr. Catherine Ramsland. As you may know, she was Brian Kohberger's professor and advisor at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. She has not spoken publicly about Brian Kohberger until now. She's been on this show talking about other cases, but she's been very, very careful not to talk about Kohberger because of the trial, because she was going to be a witness at the trial, and she now feels comfortable to open up to us. And we've got so many questions, Dr. Ramsland, that I've got so many questions I've wanted to ask you for so long. I want to start with, how did you first meet Brian Kohberger? What classes of yours was he in?
Okay, I want to be just clear that I'm still within the FERPA limitations that protect students and student information. So I will talk within that. I met him in the fall of 2018 when he came to DeSales University. He had an associate's degree and he was going to get into our 4-year program as a psychology major. He selected the forensic track, which made him an advisee for me because I managed the forensic track. And he was also in my class that semester.
And Dr. Ramsland talks about FERPA. I should have mentioned that. There's a law, it's a federal law, I believe, that she is not allowed to talk about certain aspects of a student, their grades, certain parts of their academic life. It's almost like a HIPAA. So she's going to tell us what she can, but unless Brian Kohberger signs off, she's legally not allowed to talk about certain elements of his academic career. So just keep that in mind if there's some things that Dr. Ramsland can't answer. What was your perception of him?
He seemed like eager to be in the classroom. He was polite. He was respectful, intense, and curious. And there was no reason for me to think that he was anything other than someone who was really interested in this potential career.
Was there anything looking back now that was strange about him or that you noticed?
When I look back, there really isn't anything that stood out to me. I think when you're a teacher, your instinct is to accept students at face value. You don't, start with suspicions or And there really weren't any red flags. He was always really quite respectful and grateful. He would thank me for things. He was attentive. He would do the work. I didn't have any concerns.
I think it was 4 classes that you taught him in. What were those classes?
There were 3 undergraduate courses in the forensic track that I taught, and he was in all of them. Well, one was Introduction to Forensic Psychology. Another was my death investigation class, which was called Psychological Sleuthing. And the third one was called Dangerous Minds, the Psychology of Antisocial Behavior. And then he got into the graduate program in criminal justice for a master's degree, and he took a course with me called Behavioral Criminology.
Is there anything, Dr. Ramsland, when you look back and you think about the curriculum of those classes, and not getting into his specific experience, but when you think about what you taught in those classes that you think, oh my gosh, he may have used that in what he's now accused of doing here in Idaho?
Well, the antisocial behavior course involves serial killers and mass murderers, and we do a lot of case analysis. I use two books that I wrote. One was written with the BTK killer, whom you just mentioned, and his decision process and the crimes and how he thought about them and felt about them and what was it like for him, to be caught. So that's a very intense book. And also I have one called The Mind of a Murderer, which was about various behavioral experts over the past century who interviewed killers, mass murderers, and serial killers to get as close as possible, spending a lot of time with them to get as close as possible to their process of becoming a criminal. And so he would have been exposed to that. I think now looking back, I would look at maybe some of the things that interested him as being, something that gives me pause. But we always have to think about, we all know, everyone in this field, forensic psychology and criminology, know that we could have students who might become offenders. But we also know that the vast majority of our students will not, and will instead go into a field like law enforcement, FBI, Secret Service, that make the world better, that protect us. So we know that there's always a risk that we're attracting somebody who wants to do something terrible, hoping we won't ever have that. But, in my case, I did.
Can you say, Dr. Ramsland, what it was looking back now that sort of raises your eyebrows specifically in terms of things in the class?
I think just the idea of wanting to study offenders and what their thought process was, how they felt about their crimes, wanting to study that, and then finding out that this is a person who then is now saying he's guilty of doing these things. I have to look at the framework of what I taught and wonder, did I inspire him in some way? Did I?
What?
But I can't second guess that, because.
Okay, that is just ridiculous to me. What do you mean inspire him? Don't you think he probably was like this before you? Inspire? Like, that's just really, even if you felt that, why would you ever say that? Isn't that very making this about you type of, I don't know. That's just
as I may have
bizarre.
Inspired somebody else to become an FBI agent. And that's, unfortunately, in this field, that's what we live with.
I mean, you've been studying serial killers most of your life, but when you talk about the fact that what you taught may have inspired this, that's got to be hard for you to process, I would imagine.
It's terrible, very hard. And it's not just what happened to the victims. I really thought Brian Kohberger was a promising student who really could have made a mark in this career in a very positive way. I thought that. So disappointed, angry, and very shocked that this is who he turned out to be, and horrified for the victims and their families. Just horrified. I mean, I worked with Dennis Rader closely for 5 years. I met the victims' families. I saw the devastation that these kinds of acts can have, and I have to always keep that in mind when I'm teaching these subjects.
What did you think when you first heard that Brian Kohberger, your former student, was arrested for this?
I was completely floored. I didn't believe it. And his demeanor that we saw on media was that he was confident that he was going to be able to prove his innocence. So I wanted to wait and see. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. But as months go by and he kept saying that he had an alibi, and I wondered, well, why are you sitting in jail? Give us your alibi, get out. And that wasn't happening. And then it was really when he said his alibi, and it was clearly not an alibi, and he would have known that, certainly from all the classes that he had through undergraduate and graduate work. He would have understood that wasn't really an alibi.
That's
I think
interesting
that
to me.
was when I was really, floored that this is my student who has done these things.
Huh.
You mentioned, you studied BTK, the serial killer. You met with him many times in prison. This is what you do in a hope to prevent these things from further happening and understand the mind of a serial killer. Would you want to study Bryan Kohberger? Have you put any thought into that? Is that something that you think could be possible?
I've been thinking about that for 2.5 years. I would. This is my work. If he wanted to do that, I would. And within the framework of this is what we do to try to look at developmental trajectories, the triggers, so that we can see the red flags faster. We can prevent people like this from wreaking the havoc that they do. So if he wanted to do that, I know that he's got the intellectual capacity to do it, to be self-reflective, to help think through how his life came to this. And so I would definitely do it if he were willing. And it would be hard. But I think because I have so much material from him, I have questions for him that I think nobody else but me could ask.
Oh my God, this is sick. This is fucking sick. This interview is so sick.
And just my last question, Dr. Ramsland, you are the person that I think of who, if anyone could see through someone and see that they have a secret side, I would think it would be you, because this has been your life's work and trying to figure that out. And in a sense, it almost feels like Bryan Kohberger even had you fooled.
Well, I study the ones who are really good at it because I want to truly try to understand what can we see in the constellation of behaviors that will tip us off earlier. Because people who are really good at passing as normal and keeping their dark side hidden can fool people, can fool all the experts for a long period of time. I think anybody in my field will tell you they can be duped by a really skillful predatory type of person.
That's honest.
So, I'm not going to say I'm the person who can spot this. I can see things like if you have a rigid personality and you're threatening, those are red flags that are very clear. Or you have a mental instability and you're drawing, violent images. These are things we can see and we can anticipate. But if somebody's presenting themselves as a completely normal human being engaged in life the way, according to our expectations, it's really hard to see through that. And as a teacher, I am not initially suspicious that students are there for the wrong reasons. And so I think some of us have what I would call a cognitive disadvantage because we are giving the benefit of the doubt to students. And I think that's certainly what happened. That's why I would want to work with him and study him, because I want to understand how he was able to completely fool me.
Thank you.
Well, it'll be interesting to see as this moves along if that indeed ends up happening.
Wow.
Dr. Ramsland, appreciate you coming out tonight and sharing this insight into your former student. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone. And
Holy shit. Like I said, she came out quick to talk too. She's like, let's go. Let's roll. Again, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are. This plea deal, the hearing is supposed to happen in the next 40 minutes at 1 Eastern Standard, 11 Boise time. Wow. I think she's kind of confused of like, oh, just give us your alibi and you can just leave. You can just leave. Like, she knows that that's not how that works either. So I don't know. That was really weird to say, how this works. And why would you, Inside Edition, I want to see what they have to say about Bryan growing up in rural Pennsylvania. So let's take a look here at rural Pennsylvania that make a serial killer. Here we go. Rural Pennsylvania.
Kohberger's disturbing behavior while growing up in Pennsylvania was a red flag for anyone who knew him. Bryan Kohberger lived here in rural rural Effort, Pennsylvania, population just 2,226 along the Pocono Mountains. Friends say he was overweight and bullied in high school and developed a heroin addiction in his later teen years. That's Kohberger, his junior year in high school. He aspired to be an Army Ranger. By senior year, he'd lost 100 pounds. Former classmates say that's when he underwent a big personality change and became aggressive.
It was after that weight loss that a lot of people noticed a huge switch in him. My brother has since come out to say that even though they were friends, Brian bullied him. He would put him in like chokeholds and stuff like that.
Around that time, he released a rap song calling himself the devil.
You are not my people, you are evil, but I'm people, and now I'm going legal. Don't with us.
He also made this troubling post. I have no emotion, crazy thoughts, delusions of grandeur. I can do whatever I want with little remorse. When he was 17, he was diagnosed with visual snow syndrome. This video demonstration shows how the world looks to someone afflicted with the disorder. The rare neurological condition also causes tinnitus, a constant ringing in the ears. It's as if the ringing in my ears and the fuzz in my vision is simply all of the demons in my head mocking me, he once wrote. Kohberger grew up in a tight-knit family. His mother, Marianne, was a special needs teacher. His father, Michael, was a maintenance worker at the school district. At the time of the murders of the Idaho college students, Kohberger was studying for his PhD in criminology, 15 minutes from where the college roommates were killed. 4 weeks after the murders, Kohberger was pulled over by police in Indiana for tailgating.
Back to back. You guys just think he was pulled over back to back. They weren't watching him yet. I highly doubt that. Okay. I highly doubt that. What is Judge Hippler going to do? What can Judge Hippler do? Can he truly reject this plea and be like, yep, I'm going to force you to go to trial? I believe that Judge Hippler is going to accept the plea, but I'm curious to see if he's going to ask him any questions, and then Izzy and Taylor are going to step in and say, I've advised my client not to answer anything except for the questions about does he accept this plea? I mean, isn't that what your lawyer is supposed to do? So what's Ann Taylor's role going to be in this? Hippler is one that is, there's no predicting Hippler. You have no idea what he's going to do today. As far as he's going to have to make sure that, hey, so the facts of this, there's, each student's name. So I'm just curious to see how Hippler carries himself. I have no idea what to expect from him. I don't think anybody can say that Hippler is the biggest wild card. But this is anything in my opinion of what justice looks like. A plea deal is not the symbol of our justice system for somebody that has maintained their innocence and at the last second is going to do this, if it's for the sake to say that I was trying to save my life, or my family's begging me to do it. You can't win. They're not, all the cards are stacked against you, things like that. The death penalty should not be a bargaining chip. Sorry, but it just should not. Because let's ask ourselves this: would this be going to trial if the death penalty was never on the table to begin with? Like, would this go to trial? Because then what do you have next to offer? We'll give you 20 to 40. Is Brian Kohberger going to be wearing a suit and tie? I don't think so. Why would he be wearing a suit and tie? I think he should be coming in there with his shackles on and his jumpsuit on. I don't think that he should be coming in a suit and tie. But it's the integrity of the plea for me. Is there any integrity in this plea deal? Brian Kohberger's parents are going to be there. I believe all the families are going to be there. There is rumor has it that the Gonsalves family is not going inside the courthouse. They're going to stay outside. I think that's a mistake. I think they should go in and make themselves known. Again, that's me. P. Diddy. Well, P. Diddy can just get off on charges. P. Diddy got 2 counts or 2 charges out of the 5. In case those of you guys that are following P. Diddy. I want to put that out there as well. Um, so if they I will be having Cyrate on. So I just don't want to see everything sealed. If everything becomes sealed, and I think that, hey, you take this plea deal, you plead guilty, and the discovery gets tossed out there, redact shit that's that needs to be redacted. But other than that, I mean, secrecy. So I don't believe in that. Cyber Ninja, there won't be justice due to corruption. Well, we'll find out. I just don't think it's justice regardless. Like, it's a plea deal should not happen in cases like this. I don't think that, especially the way this went down. Why didn't the state offer a plea deal to Brian Kohberger like this in December, January, February of 2023? Ask yourselves that. Why would you do this now? Why would you put anybody and all the families in the surviving roommates? Why would you do this and drag this out for 2.5 years to offer and agree to a plea deal? And people are out there going to tell you, oh, because the state didn't offer it. Ann Taylor came running and begging. Why would you accept it then? Why would you even consider it? Nope. We have trial in 3 weeks, and we're doing this for the families. We gave you that opportunity 2.5 years ago. You all can go fuck yourself. We'll see you in trial. I personally believe that neither one of these two, the defense nor the prosecution, was ready to go to trial. So again, that's just my opinion. 2 weeks ago, you're saying 4 other people did this. So Karen, $999.99. Lana, how can this happen? They have violated his rights to a fair trial. This is corruption on another level. Yes, I think that he has had some ineffective assistance of counsel then, if there's avenues that could have been taken. I don't think that you should have waited 6 months to have a preliminary hearing. I don't see how you would let the police gather even more to then use against you at a preliminary hearing. That does not make sense to me. You should have went forward with your preliminary hearing in that 10 to 14 days. I think a lot more is going to come out. There's hard to say right now. Let's see what happens in this plea deal. There's just so much unknown. There's so much unknown. And, but I think it's reckless, you guys. How do you go and say that 4 people were responsible for this 2 weeks ago and then turn around and take a plea deal? That's kind of wild. It's not kind of wild. It is fucking wild. Okay? It is fucking wild, guys. I don't think that that's okay. What if that some of that stuff would have been redacted? Okay, think about the Richard Allen case. Okay? All those names that got put out there, third-party culpability. Richard Allen didn't take no fucking plea deal. So here, what if those names wouldn't have been redacted? Pumpkin says, what if somebody got some serious threats? Yeah. Absolutely. All these things are possible. You want to know why all these things are possible? Because transparency isn't prevailing. When you have transparency, this type of like, wait, what's going on? There is none of this. Okay. So transparency prevents what is happening here. In my opinion, it's also just common logical sense. So let's see. I can't believe that no one's rolling with the camera outside the courtroom, to be honest. Let's go with bringing us the news. Again, the hearing is set to start in 37 minutes. 37 minutes. I mean, talk about a bunch of weird stuff going on in Idaho this past week. Amy K says, was saving this for your journey to Idaho, but things have changed and now seems better. Thank you, Lana, for all of your hard work, diligent and compassionate work. Thank you so much, Amy K. Appreciate you. $25. Deborah, welcome to the new membership land. Everybody's better when they're green. Go green or go home. News Nation's live outside. We'll take a peek. Highly doubt it. They're probably streaming 10 minutes early. News Nation is not streaming live. Is Brian Etten shoving cameras in people's faces? Why'd you do it? Why'd you do it, Brian? Why'd you do it, Brian? Why'd you do it? I'm going to see if I can get Dave to come back on as well. Fox Video has the Chapins. I think they've been following them around. That's who the Chapins have been working with, has been Fox Seattle. So I'll just do recaps of all that later. We're just gonna go to the courtroom. So 25 minutes and counting. 25 minutes and counting. Here you go.
Hey, listen, you have to do an allocution.
Are they not doing it?
Have to tell us at least where the knife is. You have to do something to get this deal, not just stand up there and say, okay, judge, I'm guilty and call it a day. I've just never seen it. And I'm talking about in any case, drug cases, prostitution cases, weak cases where you're getting an unbelievable deal. Maybe you're getting PTI with his diversion program, or you're getting some sort of benefit. The prosecution always says, okay, that's going to come along with an allocution, especially if there's a co-defendant or they can't find the weapon, they can't find the gun that was used in a robbery, they say, you got to at least tell us where the gun is and we'll give you this, this deal. I've never seen it. I haven't tried a case in Idaho, so maybe that's how they do it there. I've just never seen that done in any of the other states that I've had cases in, that I've tried cases. I just finished a murder case in San Francisco. That wasn't going to be the deal in San Francisco. And I just don't know why this was done the way that it was done. And I think that everyone's going to be asking those questions. I don't know if the state attorney is going to come out and speak to the press afterwards, but my feeling is if he was too weak and scared to speak to the families face to face, I don't think that he will face the firing line of questions from the individuals that are reporting on the case.
Well, and he's planning to retire. He was planning to retire, I believe, a year ago, after the election or before the election. So let's go to another question. Alan Miola asks, I'll take this.
You guys straight up blasting Bill Thompson and being such a pussy ass bitch. Love it. Love it. Go, buddy, go.
One really quickly. Are cameras allowed? Of course, yes, they are. And everybody, we are going to be bringing that to you live. So stay with us here on the stream. That will be beginning in about 20 minutes. So we will be bringing that to you live. Stay with us here on the stream. We're going to have to wrap up the show here very briefly. Let's get one more question into Tara. Tara,
Hi,
this is from the Advocate. What about the weapon? Will he have to disclose that as part of the plea? This is what we're talking about right here, Tara. He may have to allocute, he may not, but a lot of reporting out there is stating that he's not going to have to allocute. But we'll get the details here in about 25 minutes or so.
Idaho. Idaho.
Differentiate these things. One is allocution, which a defendant has the right to give an allocution, a statement at the time of sentencing, can address the court, can address the victims' families. That's different from details of a plea agreement that would require him to speak to the state, for instance, and tell the state, not in open court, but tell the state where the murder weapon is or what was done exactly, or that's a different component. And
something wrong.
Just don't have
something wrong with your ding.
Whether it exists
your ding back.
He indeed is going to be entering a guilty plea today. So lots of unknowns, but we should have a better idea, a more clear picture.
Lana, thank you for the phrase backseat Bill. You know he's taking back job blowjobs.
Yeah, we will. And that hearing is going to start just in about 20 minutes. We are going to wrap up our coverage for now. With me, but stay with us, everybody, and please keep dropping your questions in the live chat. Stay right here with us on this live stream.
I love Anjanette.
We will be taking you into that courtroom.
Anjanette Levy's a good cat. Good cat.
Here into Judge Hippler's courtroom as soon as this hearing begins. So stay with us and watch it, and then I will be back after the hearing ends.
Look at, told you they're all setting up their media.
We'll have more guests and more great analysis and reaction to what happens in court. So I'll be up in court. I will come back. We will talk about all of it and unpack all of it and tell you what everybody has to say. So Bradford Cohen, thank you so much for being with me. Tara Malik, thank you.
I will say this. Thank God that this did not happen on day one of the trial. Okay. Thank God this happened right now. For all the small people out there like myself, who had everything lined up to go the fuck out there, and I can still get out of Airbnbs and shit like that. If this would have happened the day of trial or during right before voir dire, I would it would have fucked up a lot of shit. So for me, that's my only, thanks, Ann Taylor. Thank you, Ann Taylor. I think that you did that for me, But this isn't what justice in the United States of America should look like. This type of plea deal, because of this type of plea deal at the last hour here, after you just went into a courtroom and said that these other 4 people are the perpetrators. Like, what? Like that, you shouldn't be able to do that. You should not be able to do that. Okay. Thank God it was redacted because I don't think those people's names should ever fucking see the light of day. People should question this plea deal. They absolutely should. Or you need to question Ann Taylor writing things in motions that she knowingly knows it's false. Like that's fucking misconduct, man. You just can't have it both ways. And I'll be transparent
Thank you
about
for being
it.
with me as well. We will be back. You've been watching.
So I think it's funny how they call people like pro-burgers. That term to me is I'm just like pro-constitution, man. Steve, you want a trial, right? I want a trial. Right? That's what it's about. Like you want a trial, like you want to know what the government's doing. You want to know what these sick fucks are doing that are like defendants and they become guilty people because it all comes out in court. But Bill Thompson lied to these parents, man. He never was going to trial. Never was going to trial. Bill Thompson's had a boner since fucking Monday, man, over this. That's the truth. So we'll see. Miss Kelly, how you doing, baby doll? Miss Kelly, not the first time Bill T did this either. No, he's notorious for plea deals. So let's see. We got some more news from inside. Let's see. Steve G says that he has Brian Kohberger's dad's flight records. So he knows when Brian Kohberger's dad booked his flight to go, let's see. Oh, Steve Gonzalez is furious. Let's see if we can get to.
Now, what do you want Kohberger to know?
We know when you flew out here. We know. We have your flight records.
How are you preparing to see him today?
I'm not going to see him.
When you say you know the flight records, what do you mean, Steve?
I know when his parents booked their flight. When his father did.
I'm getting out of the city. Steve is boycotting. Steve is fucking boycotting. His family goes in. He doesn't go in. He knows when Brian Kohberger's family, aka his dad, bought the ticket to go out to see his son. Oh, wow. Basically trying to say that it wasn't planned all along. It was after. It was after. Thank God somebody has a camera outside. That's all I wanted. It's a camera outside. I just love cameras outside, guys. I'm a camera whore outside. You guys remember with Delphi? I gave you guys round the clock, if I could, camera outside. unless I was like inside doing, God's work. We'll go inside the courtroom when Hitler takes a seat. You guys, we have no idea what to expect. Hitler is fucking wild. I think I'm still in a frozen shock state over here. Let's see. I think Bill Thompson has a bigger bullseye in his back than Brian Kohberger does right now, as far as Steve's concerned. I think this is fucked up, you guys. I think this is so fucked up. They lied. Hey, we're the only ones that can leak shit, Steve. Not you. And then now guess what? We're going to fucking do a plea deal. Who? What? Like I said, I think Bill Thompson has a bigger target on his back right now. I think Steve wants fucking words with Bill Thompson. Listen, you 7-year-old motherfucker, get over here. I paid money to see that fucking throw down. Backseat Bill. What a pussy. What a puss. Backseat Bill. An absolute just... Him and Ashley Jennings are made for each other. Sickos. Woo! The crowd's asking for Steve to shave Bill's beard while he's sleeping. Show him who's boss, Steve. Again, thanks for being in here. Make yourself known. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs down. We'll never tell you how to think. But don't be a fence rider, bitch. Deborah, BK was behind bars for 2.5 years, Anne. Yep. This case is... You don't come out... The world has seen the prosecution has lied. We have experts that are writing things down. It's all happening right in front of our faces, and the judge has allowed it. And then you have this outcome. So I'm excited to hear from, once this gag order is lifted, I'm excited to hear from people that, can shed some light on the darkness that is this plea deal. Countdown to the shit show is 9 minutes, allegedly, supposedly. 9 minutes. If you guys are watching at home on the comfort of your television, you guys can enjoy now I'll put the little screen up for you. No fence riders here, just truth and justice. I know I wouldn't be taking a plea deal. Just me. I wouldn't take a plea deal. And I'd be looking at Anne like, you want me to sign this shit, bitch? And I've been telling you I'm innocent as fuck. Get this shit out of my face, Anne. Now go get me some macaroni and cheese. And then I tell Ashley Jennings to bring me some ketchup. Because you need to catch up with the facts, girl. Where's Molly McMichael? She's the one that we need to look out for, guys. Molly McMichael right now, she needs some help because now she's no longer any use to the prosecution. And Molly's going to probably end up in prison. Oh. They got a hot mic over there. You hear that? Did Steve walk in? Or did he leave? I wouldn't want to live in a cell the rest of my life. Give me liberty or give me death. You guys are setting up their pop-up tents. This isn't where they're going to be talking, so the sentencing is when they're going to be able to be doing the victim impact speeches. So, oh, camera guy. Still no cameras in the courtroom? Oh, no, there's cameras in the courtroom. There are cameras in the courtroom. Give me liberty or give me death now. So I think that the reason I'm going to use their stream is they have the ability to pump up volume. So we might get better sound. That's why I'm using this thread, by the way. If not, I have the backup really quick to switch over. So 5 minutes out. 5 minutes. Who's the person? How about there's some trivia for you. Who said give me liberty or give me death? Who's quoted with that? We learned that, what was it, like third, fourth, fifth grade? Well, it's live. They have a camera in the courtroom. Patrick Henry, yeah, okay, good job. Love it. Nice. Kanye West. Speaking of Kanye West, P. Diddy's jury just said, he's a pimp. Charge him. He's a pimp. Maybe the P has always stood for pimp daddy. Yeah, Lady Di, what's good? All of you guys have been following this case since November of 2022. 2.5 years. It's 2 years, 7 months. This is what's going to come down to: a plea deal at the 11th hour, and then sentencing at the end of the month, where everybody will be able to be there and people will be able to speak. I wonder if Bethany and Dylan are speaking, if they've considered it. Three minutes. 3 minutes. So good afternoon if you're just joining us. What's everybody having for lunch today? Now that we all know that Ramslin wants to learn from her student. I'm having clickbait for lunch today. I'm just going with Borgs all day. I'm absolutely disgusted in Idaho's version of justice. Their perversion of justice. This is perverted justice right here. A lot of perverts in Idaho, so kind of goes hand in hand. You couldn't pay me money to live in Idaho. There's 3 places that I promise you I'd never live. Pennsylvania, Idaho, and Canton, Massachusetts. We're going to be putting out everything we possibly can on the case. Whatever we can get our hands on, we're going to make it public. We're going to be beating down some doors. To think that he just didn't kill people on WSU's campus and never have to face the death penalty is just kind of mind-blowing. A ham sandwich. Who's having ham sandwiches today? I think that he should have to I think that Judge Hipper should ask him some questions. Let's see if he's really, let's see what he's got in his soul. I'd be asking questions if I was the judge. I'd be seeing, I mean, why didn't Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell get, why weren't they offered plea deals? Why was that case worth going the distance for? You know what I mean? Why was that case worth it? Why were, the lives of those victims worth it? And then here you get to this is, and I just think it's because Bill Thompson, they weren't prepared as well as I think that they needed to bury stuff. So there was no controversy in the Lori and Chad Daybell case, right? Why did they give them a deal? I'd be pissed if I was a parent. Of one of these 4. This is supposed to start any second now. It's 1 o'clock. So here we go. This court will resume shortly. Court hasn't even begun. This could have all happened 2.5 years ago. A plea deal. What's up, Birdie? Birdie? You playing golf today? Thanks for streaming this, Lana. Stuck at work? Oh, that's no fun. Thanks for being here. 4. I will say that the silver lining to this case is I've met some truly amazing people from this case. I know that sounds nuts, but that's what I'll take away from this case is the people and the community that we've built over here. That's the most important thing. There's some really, really amazing people that I met from this tragedy. So I want to say thank you, and you know who you are. If I've never talked to you before, you know it ain't you. So, Barbie's 3000, Levy Lana wouldn't be watching this shit show anywhere else. Yep, this is a shit show. Are we gonna have a Bev situation here? What time do we think we starting? We starting at 103. What do we think? Like 110, 112? Deborah, 5 gifted memberships. She turned 5 people green. Cheers. Trulies for the win. Who's drinking Trulies right now? Anybody? Anybody drinking some Trulies? Cheers. 5 o'clock somewhere. White Claws. Trulies for the win. The Southern Blonde Lawyer. Y'all look at order for photographer. Of course, Hitler doesn't mention defendant and his family. Yeah. Yeah. Brian Kohberger's parents and sisters and any family of his, leave them the fuck alone. They have nothing to do with this in terms of they had nothing to do with this crime. That always bothers me. You know what I mean? Those parents woke up the same morning, just like the victim's parents did. And they were eventually, I mean, with Brian Kohberger, his arrest came obviously not on the same day as the murder. So, but their lives forever changed when they got that phone call. And they get to be labeled the rest of their lives as you raise, a killer. And it sucks. Sucks for them and the sisters. For all of our Canadian folks out there, wasn't it Canada Day? Was it yesterday? Cheers. Crystal White says, Steve G comment about, oops, sorry. Oh, fuck, I missed that. Karen, are you there? Karen gifted 20 Truth and Transparency memberships, 20 new aliens. Come on down, you little freaks. Come on, you freaks. That's probably one of my favorite things about this case when you want to put some humor in the mix, because if you don't mix it sometimes with humor, it's tough. But Gray Hughes getting pulled over like Molly. Funny moment in this case. Thank you, Karen. We love you over here, Karen. Senor, tiny baby goats. Whoa. Don't even know what I thought that said. Tiny ball. Okay. I am so confused with all of this exculpatory data and their Cyrate. Well, hopefully we can get some of that cleared up, because once Cyrate's unmuzzled, he's going to be doing an interview here. So hopefully that helps with whatever he can answer. The Southern Blonde Lawyer. Atlanta, you're spot on. Yes. Did you listen to that the other day? Good. I'm glad that you got to hear that. Yep. I think if Brian is truly innocent, this could be a potential play to, use ineffective assistance of counsel, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to get out of this plea deal is ineffective assistance of counsel, or you have to show like a manifest of unjust, and that's going to require evidence to show that, and that's going to take time if what Ann Taylor is saying is true. Heather, welcome to membership land there. Cheers. Lindsay, thank you so much for your dedication, Lana. Thank you for your dedication too. You guys are all dedicated as well, always coming here, always asking good questions. Like I said, you can go anywhere and you choose to come here. So I think that has a lot to do with the mods in chat, the chatters that are here. I know that I don't like to go places where like what a bunch of fucking assholes. So cheers to all of you guys. The chat's where it's at. That when you have lives, that's what it's for. Crystal White. Steve, SG's comment about the fallen vet has me on the floor. I need more. Yeah, it has me on the floor about, I'm telling you all this about Jordan Baker, and I found out who the people were that called, the police there. And everything about that, I know now who the guy is. Well, the 3 people plus Jordan Baker. Nothing sits, that's all church shit. And Jordan Baker doesn't sit right with me at all. Jordan Baker, Brent was gunned down because of Jordan Baker's call, which actually clashed with what the other roommate was saying. All that stuff, they just get buried. And if you don't write specific public requests like the right way, something that's there that you could actually get, if you don't write your public request the right way, you won't get it. And then when they work with multiple agencies, then you have to figure out who has what. So, but when people work together on the internet, because there's a lot of talented people, as you can see, shit can get accomplished. We're getting shit out. So, this is Tina with What the Fuck Translation Services. What the fuck is taking so long, Hippler? Are you crying back there? Are you pissed that you're not going to be on the camera for 3 months straight? Come on, it's 1:10. What's going on here? You guys, this was every day though with Bev over there in Boston, Massachusetts, over there in Canton. I mean, I had an over and under for that trial on how many days she would be at 9:12 a.m. or later, and I won that over bet. We had a bet on how many different sidebars there were during that trial. Do you know how many sidebars there were during that trial? It was 99 or more. We got to 99 on day 8 or 9. Yeah, once we got the over, then I stopped counting. We were averaging 8 to 11 sidebars per day. That's a fucking lot. That's a lot. Judge is probably see y'all. That's why I passed the buck. Get this shit. I want no part of this. No part of this. I'm still confused on how this trial would take 3 months. There's no substance to me that they have in terms of that this is. I wanted to see how they were going to prosecute the case. I'm interested in the law. I'm interested in the procedure. I'm interested in how strategically you would go about prosecuting this case. I was interested in how you would go to defend this case. If I did my math right, Ann Taylor made $600,000 per year for the past 2 years. If she made $250 per hour, and if she worked 50 hours per week, it's $600,000 per year. That's $1.2 million, and she's had the case for 2 years and 5 months. And no, that money doesn't go to experts. They get their own money. So I want to see how much when that stuff gets released, and it will get released. Unless they try to seal all of this stuff. If they try to seal all this stuff, man, fuck them. Fuck them. We're supposed to accept your plea deal, right? We the people, we're the ones paying you. and then you're thinking you're going to seal this. I just think that the heavy lifting, they got to the point that it was coming right up to when the heavy lifting was about to begin, and now there's no trial. Like, just so we're clear, everybody should have been ready to go for trial at this point, because as you're doing all this stuff, you're doing stuff as you go, and they all had to had their exhibits in for trial already. And if that's the case, and you have your witness list in, and you have your experts in, you have your disclosures in, you're supposed to be ready to go to trial, right? Like, you have it all. The only thing that you're talking about preparing is, hey, what's my order going to be? What are the questions I'm going to ask? How am I going to make it clear and concise that this is reasonable doubt? And then the state's over here saying how we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So we've officially having a Bev situation is 113. Hitler's never been this late before, ever been this late. Maybe someone's getting cold feet. I would not put it past this case to have something fucking crazy happen. I'm telling you, there's Hitler. You might as well flip a coin that has 15 heads on it. You just never know what you're going to get with Hitler. The ways that you can appeal this, if you're Brian Kohberger, the biggest, strongest way is it's ineffective assistance of counsel. It's 100% ineffective assistance of counsel. But if Brian comes out here and says something like, my lawyer told me that she couldn't effectively represent me because time has run out and she needed more time and they won't give us more time, and so therefore I'm taking this plea deal to save my life. Hitler can't be like, okay, yep, we accept. So, well, if it's on, here we go. Oh, wow, they're letting Brian be in a shirt and tie.
All right, this is CR 0124316665. Defendant is present in custody with counsel, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms. Barlow. The state's present with Mr. Thompson, Mr. Horowitz, Ms. Jennings, and Mr. Nye. Here as well. Am I miss anybody? I'm sorry.
Ms. Allen is here as well.
Ms. Allen is here as well. Very well, thank you. All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. Before I start, I want to address some issues of concern and otherwise. First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision-making in this case. This has been extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases where defendants are entitled to have their cases processed, and frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims to have their cases processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never, take into account public sentiment in making an opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases. Courts should, and I always will, make decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me, period. I have not read any of the numerous messages nor listened to any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff. Those have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement. I ask that you not continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information like this, because, again, it is not appropriate and, frankly, not something I would take into account when deciding a matter in a case like this. I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers, and what the court's duties are, and what the duties and the rights of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue, including whether, as well as what penalties to ask for, and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to attempt to do that. This court, in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty. My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited. My role is to ensure that the defendant's plea is given freely, voluntarily, and intelligently. If those things are met, I can only reject a plea, such as the one in this case, where I'm not being asked to agree to the sentence in advance. If I can only reject it, for example, if the defendant does not meet or admit to all of the elements of the crime. That is, I can ensure what is called a factual basis to the plea. Finally, I want to offer my apologies to all the families, including the victims' families, the families of the defendant, for the short notice for today's hearing, and I'm sure what must have been the hurried efforts to get here. I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand. Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial, as had been indicated, and my staff and I were busy continuing to work on preparations to have potentially 10,000 citizens of Ada County come to jury duty starting in mid-July, with the questionnaire process in mid-July. It was, once I learned of the defendant's decision to change his plea in this case, it was important that I take the plea as soon as possible because of the extraordinary administrative efforts that were otherwise attendant to the process of this, getting this trial potentially underway on time, and including the significant process of bringing, again, potentially up to 10,000 jurors to come in and fill out juror questionnaires prior to the beginning of the voir dire process. And so it was important that we, if we're going to go down this road, do so expeditiously so that we can avoid those costs and expenses associated with that. Otherwise, if it was not going to result in a plea, or for some reason the plea were to fall through today, that we could continue diligently towards trial at the time specified. And so that obviously required that we act quickly. And so some folks may have not had the amount of time that we would otherwise allow for them to travel here. And so, again, I apologize for that. I want to make people aware that during the hearing, if you are to leave the courtroom for any reason, you will not be readmitted during the hearing. Also, when we finish the hearing this morning, I ask that the public and media wait in their seats until the victims' families and the defendants' families and others are escorted out of the courtroom before you start to leave. Finally, I want to acknowledge the trial court administrator and her staff, the Ada County Sheriff, and the Ada County 4th District Marshal Service for the huge lift that they've accomplished in preparing for and orchestrating this hearing today, as well as to all the security attendant today that you see, and some of whom you, many of whom you don't see, with less than 48 hours notice. And so I appreciate the hard work that they've been doing. Frankly, some of them while they were on some vacation prior to the trial starting and had to call that short. And so I appreciate very much their professionalism and dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of today. I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates in sum, the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment, burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing to the following. The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed, and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another. Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing. The stipulated agreement between the parties is the maximum on each count. So theoretically, the only thing the court could do would be a lesser sentence at sentencing. But the defendant is not free to ask the court to do so under the plea agreement. Are there any other material terms of the plea agreement that the parties would like to make? Obviously, the plea agreement, the written plea agreement will speak for itself and be part of the court record.
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, very well. All right. Ms. Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counter offers and answered his questions about those?
Yes.
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon, or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not being before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Holy shit.
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Kohberger, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated, all right? Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed substantive questions? Let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include on count one, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime, to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
As I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone, other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
And counsel, obviously there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kohberger, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
I have received a written guilty plea advisory questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
And this document outlines many of the rights that you have in this case. Should you not plead guilty, did you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. You understand that?
Yes.
You understand you would have a privilege against self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to have proven at trial had you, to the crimes that you're pleading guilty to, had you, if you didn't plead guilty. Let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right. So as to count one burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in Latah County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count two, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. As to count three, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in Latah County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. As to count four, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count five, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
I want to also make, for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the defendant's signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the organization of the recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents. The state's evidence, as an overview, would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing at his parents' residence or was residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also, we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times. In the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m. On the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was a traffic stop of Mr. Kohberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Kohberger's name, Brian Kohberger, his phone number, and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Kohberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's evidence would include at trial video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway just just across the state line from Moscow that would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. The state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked. Defendant entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez. The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Knodel was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor, it was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed-blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, the defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom would see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Latah County. About 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks it heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th of 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Kohberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman, to change his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's of note because Pennsylvania cars do not require a front license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it. At the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate. Mr. Kohberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Kohberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania, and they conducted what's called a trash pull. During the nighttime hours, agents of the FBI, who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from the Pennsylvania residence of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Mogan's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho, and a search warrant was issued in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but the Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. I can tell the court, in public, the weapon itself, the knife, has not yet been recovered. I can tell the court that the defendant's apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office. Spartan would be a kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there. Nothing of evidentiary value was found. And of course, we are now talking 6-8 weeks after the time of the killings. In Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally. And it also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think we can all look to our own cars, you know, in those compartments in the doors. We try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. They were spotless. The defendant's car had been meticulously cleaned inside. And the state would present to the jury that that was part of the defendant's plan in covering up this. The defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees, and he had that knowledge and skill. So, Your Honor, at the end, the state submits that the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks, which the state is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, 2022, excuse me, Mr. Kohberger entered the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. He did that with the intent to kill. We will not represent that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night, but we know that that is what resulted, and that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice forethought, Manny Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Santa Colonel. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, based on the state's proffer and importantly, based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogan, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Right. The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. The court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon, the defense wishes to waive a pretrial investigation. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
The state also?
Yes, Your Honor, the state does not believe pre-sentence investigation is needed given the evidence that is available. We want to, though, make sure that all of the victims have the opportunity to make statements to the court at sentencing.
Absolutely. And certainly both the state and the defense may present whatever sentencing memorandum and other documents you wish me to consider. The victims will be given an opportunity to provide the statements that they wish to at sentencing. Do we need more than one full day for sentencing?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. Obviously, we have numerous victims, and we have victims who share unique perspectives on this, and we want to make sure that they all have time to express their feelings to the court. But I believe that if we can start perhaps 8:30 or so in the morning, that we should be able to complete it all in one day.
Defense agree with that in terms of the time frame?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So as it happens, we have some time reserved in this case in July and August.
You think?
The week of July 22nd is available. I don't know if that's too soon for the parties or the next week, the week of August 4 is available. Any preference?
Your Honor, we're prepared as soon as the court wants to schedule it.
The state, I believe, would be prepared on the 22nd. Right. We've told the victims' families that we're looking at approximately those dates.
All right. So because of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public and the logistics that will be required to make that happen. Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd with the idea that if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. We'll start at 9 in the morning. Does that give your team enough time, Sandra? 9 in the morning? All right.
The 22nd or the 23rd? Which one?
Any concerns with that date?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
No, sir.
All right. Any reason why I should not rescind the non-dissemination order at this time?
You're right. I think that given the history of this case, it would be best if that remained in place through sentencing. So we have time to make sure there's the ability to completely answer questions.
Yeah, you shut up, Bill.
That would be the state's preference and recommendation.
We'd have no objection for the order to remain in place through sentencing.
All right, I will, at this point, the idea to keep it until sentencing, which time it would be withdrawn in order to give the parties the space and time to prepare to meet what I'm sure will be the deluge of media requests.
Media.
That's at least my preliminary decision at this point. We can always revisit if it seems to be, for some reason, I should. That said, obviously, I don't think the defendant, a bond was ever set for the defendant. Were it would be revoked. The prior order allowing him to come in civilian clothes is revoked, given his plea and no longer the presumption of innocence. And in fact, now the actual conviction for the crimes. He will continue to be held at the jail pending sentencing. Is there anything else today?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
I assume that the trial date will be vacated and those 4 jurors will be released.
The trial will be vacated, and I'm sure that the jury commissioner will get word to those that receive their summons that they won't be required to attend. So that said, again, if you would all please wait for the parties and the victims' families and others to leave the courtroom before you do, I would appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned.
All right.
All right, please.
Woo! There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is in the books.
Believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily.
In his best interest. I think it was in his best interest. Definitely. Again, welcome to Truth and Transparency. The gag order. So I was taking notes just in case this, for whatever reason, got deleted. I think it was very thorough record. Okay, I think it was a very thorough record. My gut tells me he is not going to fight this at all. That he is accepting responsibility. And I'm kind of shocked that, I mean, I guess the state kind of just said like it was only one person. Kind of shocked that maybe Hitler didn't say that you acted alone, you know, didn't ask him that. But everything that basically Ann Taylor was working on for the past 2.5 years contradicts the plea, clearly. So the gag order is going to stay in effect all the way until July 23rd. Bill Thompson. I mean, he's a pussy, so I was expecting nothing less than him hurry up and stand up. Can we keep it, can we keep it intact until, come on, just give me a little bit more time. And then he's going to run out of town. But I think that they have work to be done, I guess, until then, and want to be able to just not be bothered. Listen, Brian Kohberger is his own person. If he wanted to accept that plea deal, I look at it this way. If he's, I do know that innocent people have taken plea deals before, obviously, but there was no gain for him to take a plea deal and then get maxed with everything like that. He's a criminology student. Like, he knows, if anybody knows their rights, he knows his rights. I just think that you can't.
One full day for sentencing.
You had representation. They asked him about his representation. Again, just my take. My take is that I don't see him fighting this. I could see him taking up his professor and working from prison and helping people solve cases from prison or something like that. Like, that's what I could see. Man, do you think that he did it now? You guys, what do you mean? Do I think that he did it? I wanted to see the evidence. I believe in our rights. Okay, you're innocent, so proven guilty. That's what this channel's about. Okay, if you're saying that you're innocent for 2.5 years, right? You deserve your day in court. I think Bill going through his little, bullet points. No, I think your case is weak. I think the case is very weak. The case is very weak. That doesn't mean that he's innocent. The case is very weak. If he doesn't leave the sheath behind, if it's truly him, he gets away with it, right? If they didn't violate his rights, he gets away with it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's how I look at this. They violated his rights to arrest him. And people out there say that the ends justifies the means. I'm not of that. I'm not on that boat. But I mean, like I said, if you've been here, give me liberty or give me death. Why would I take to live in prison? I mean, he's the type of guy, though. He doesn't need interaction. He doesn't need social. Like, I mean, maybe he has no problem living in prison, and that he's going to be able to hang out with his buddy Ramslin. I take issue with everything that the defense put forward. That it did prove that our rights were violated in this process. And the defense put that forward, and I just didn't want that to be buried, because I've seen cases where the police have done that and they've railroaded innocent people. I wanted it exposed. I want you doing whatever, like, you have a position in law enforcement to uphold the law, and here you're just breaking it. I don't like that side. That's how innocent people get railroaded. If Brian Kohberger wasn't one of the innocent ones, but we're going to do as much as we can to get as much as the information. Like, I think with this plea, I think Hippler I don't think he's going to steal shit. I don't think he's going to steal stuff. So if he doesn't steal stuff, and that means all this stuff that was temporarily sealed, it's going to become unsealed. Okay. So I think that we're going to be able to get a lot of stuff. And if that happens, then you be your own judge. If you think, and jury, if you think that there's something, amiss about it. I think that it's ridiculous that you would do a plea deal right here, right before trial. I mean, 10,000 jurors were coming in there. 10,000. Do you want to know how many they only had lined up for Delphi? 500 or 600. 10,000. That's a lot of fucking people. That's a lot of people. I would love to know how many they went through with Karen Reed. 10,000. You guys, 2 or 3 things can be true as well. Like Brian Kohberger's rights, which is our rights, they could have been violated a bunch of different times, right? But that doesn't mean that he's innocent when it comes down to, like, did you kill these people? Okay. So a bunch of things can be true. I'm just saying, if if you had all intentions of going and trying to solve this crime by first going to violate our rights, I have a problem with that. Okay? Because there are so many things in place that you don't need to do that. And bring in the FBI because, hey, you guys can do X, Y, and Z, which we can't. And then, you know, I think Bill Thompson just literally proved that he had a weak case. Bill Thompson standing up there and saying what he said, and that this is like, you know, these are the facts. These are the facts. You guys, those are the facts. That's really, really weak case. And I think that the families, I think there's a chance that Brian Kohberger walks if he's the guy. I've always said that. And I think the family should really consider that. And I think that it would just take Bill Thompson saying, listen, our case isn't strong. But he's the guy, but our case isn't strong. We cannot, like, you want him to walk? You want him to walk. But see, they were never like that with the families. Okay? Maybe they thought that they couldn't be that way with the families because maybe they thought that they could be that way with certain families, but not with him because he's running off and spouting off. Maybe it would have been stronger if they would have done other things. Like, I think it's hard. I find it hard to believe that we don't have a camera on that car after leaving the car, like, you know, 1112, and he's over here saying Brian Kohberger with no phone, no nothing, was able to get around the back roads, and then turns his phone on at 4:48. You know, I just know that everything that Anne was mounting in her defense was everything opposite of what was just said. So there was evidence that existed that goes against that. Okay, because I don't think that people have, you know, expert careers that are just going to get out there and, you know, talk about blood spatter and that it, you know, I think Ethan was so passed out. I think he was so, like, sleeping, passed out, didn't even, like, he was the last one. I think that Xana was probably coming out of her room to put that bag, if she, you know, got the DoorDash, whatever, to go put it back in, like, you know, throw it in the kitchen, or whatever, put it over there. And it seems like would have encountered him, is what they're saying. And I wonder if there's any blood that's in the, you know, around that foyer area over there. The process. Because the process that they employed here, this is how innocent people do go to prison. They did it with Sheldon Jeter Jr. And that's why I told myself a long time ago, but that case with Sheldon Jeter Jr. even, like, more solidified that, listen, you can't just let the police do whatever they want and the prosecutors, you can't, no, like, fucking prove your work. Okay, I understand you need to keep some stuff at bay at times to keep the integrity of the case, but then these are the same people that go ahead and are part of a leak. How do you do that? Like, wouldn't you be, like, sweating bullets, like, oh my God, we just got away with it. And then you think, okay, here, now let's just double down and pass out more. I think that this would have all come out and there would have been a high chance that he would have been able to benefit from it. That's what they're thinking. And that we're not going to be able to make our case then. But really, he's the guy and we don't want him killing anybody else. I think a ton of stuff is going to come out between now and sentencing. The gag order is going to be lifted. I'm going to do my damned, like, I'm not here to judge people until I know enough things to, like I want to talk to Ann Taylor. You know, I saw everybody talking about, you know, I'm so disgusted with Ann Taylor. You guys, how can we be disgusted with Ann Taylor when we don't know shit? Okay? Like, that makes us ignorant. That makes us, like, if we don't have, we should have why would you judge a book by its cover, right? Until we get the material, then let's judge it. Let me get us the material. I'm gonna get an interview with Cyree. It's already done. Okay. As soon as that fucking gag order is lifted, he's going to be here. Okay. Let me get us the material and I will put it all out here and then let us see what's there. Okay. I think that's what this truth and transparency. Let's get the documents. Okay. But somebody wanted to plead guilty and hear all that stuff and say, yep, I did it. I'm the one. I'm the one. I'm the one. Maybe he's going to say more at sentencing. Maybe he's going to apologize. So let's get the material. Let's all work together to get the material. Cyre's not going to talk. Girl, okay, bye. I wouldn't have said that on my channel right now if that isn't happening. It's happening. We can do a lot. We can do a lot. Let's see what we can get our hands on between now and sentencing, and then after sentencing, let's see what truly opens up. Let's see if Bill Thompson in the prosecutor's office tries to fight anything, because then you're gonna know a lot then too. If Bill Thompson and his staff tries to fight stuff coming out, I think that's going to even show more doubt on what everything that you just said. You want me to believe Bill Thompson? You want me to believe Bill Thompson, who just lied for 2.5 years to the victims' families? Come on, man. I'm not a moron, but I'm also not a moron. Why would I come out here and if I don't know something, I'd be ignorant to just That's Nancy Grace, baby. Go follow that hoe. That's not what we do here. We put her and we just go like this. So, I don't think that this house was targeted for any other reason. I think that there could have been a ton of other houses then. I don't think he was like, this is the house I'm going to go and kill people in. By the way, that's not what I took from any of that. And if I was Steve, maybe Brian Kohberger will give you a one-on-one if he's going to sit down with his ex-professor. If I was Steve, why don't you go smooze that ex-professor and say, hey, can you get us answers? Can you get us answers? Maybe you would be able to get us answers. That's what I would be doing. I'd be getting creative. I'd be using my creative Pisces brain. Like I said, I don't think it adds up to do this at the 11th hour going into the trial. But let's see what we can get our hands on. Let's see what we can get our hands on. I just want to say thank you. At that sentencing hearing, you guys, I think it's going to be off the chain. We'll be live streaming here July 23rd. I haven't made my mind yet if I'm going to Boise or not. Right now, I'm 50-50. I'm going to go out to Cali. Let my mind get blown. Bluebird says, will we get to see the questionnaire BK filled out? That'll probably leak. It'll probably be in his file. Hopefully. New Orleans lady, remember for 39 months? Look out. Maybe BK never wanted to fight this. Could have been. That's true. The transparency. Will the Innocence Project step in with a guilty plea? I mean, the Innocence Project only takes on cases that there's DNA available. So since there is 2 unknown male DNAs, there's a chance. I would definitely keep that on the table because of the DNA. Trish, based on your analysis, nothing was proved. Nothing was proved. I don't think anything was proven here today. I said it over and over. This is a really, really weak case. Trish, Lana, why do you think BK is doing this? I believe the prosecuting was an uphill battle to prove. It 100% was. I've watched you since the inception of this case. Thank you for your insight. But why is he doing this? Is BK really that fucked up and a monster, in your opinion? I think whoever fucking did this is fucked up. But I mean, somebody is responsible for this, whether it's one person, whether it's two people. And I am telling you right now, there is no way that I would be saying that I did this. This is horrific crime. There was no, these people, there's no reason to kill these people. They didn't do anything to you. If you're BK, there's no connection, right? If it is BK, I don't believe that this would have been his first time. You know what I mean? Like, who just like, I'm gonna go in the house and I mean, I wish the Mad Greek people would come forward and say, like, yeah, BK was in here and he was always staring at Maddie, you know? We couldn't get any of that from anybody. Thank you so much, Trish, for your support. I don't know. P. Fox, 22 months, look out. Can we do some thank you notes when this is said and done? Yes, we can. I'll do some thank you notes. Absolutely. I'll bring that segment back. Somebody wrote me about that. They missed my thank you notes. I will definitely do that. Lana, please host a public BK mock trial with another true crime justice seekers like Birdie, Pab. No judge, just hard facts, and all of us as jury. I would definitely be down. I want to get my hands on the material. I think it would help. I think it would help a lot of what everybody wants to know. I think it's there. I want to know what the police did from November 13th until December 19th. I want to know what the local police department did. Because they had nothing. They had nothing. And then it's like, okay, here, you know, I want to listen to what Steve's going to put out there because he was told stuff by somebody. He may get it wrong but I want to at least hear what he's going to say because then maybe I can make some sense out of, okay, wait, he really means is like this and this is where you got it from or, thank you so much. Thank you. Tiny canines, teeth, does that say treat bitch? What a name. That's a mouthful, man. Did I get everybody? The thing that they have on the back end sucks. Like it skips around. It fucking horseshit. Okay, back here because then I missed stuff. Amanda K49, thank you so much. Mellow. Does it say Mellow? Mellow D. Yeah, taking it. The elephant in the room, an obvious problem or difficult situation that everyone is aware of but is deliberately avoiding and discussing, has always been Brent. Yeah. Well, fuck shit. Mr. Gonsalves today talking about a fallen vet. So I'm interested in that. Absolutely. Melody. Go read Steve Gonsalves' statement or whoever put it out for the family. Catnap. He couldn't overcome the planted evidence and saved his family from years of pain due to this trial and seeing him put to death. That could be. He swore under oath. He was sworn in. I think people's personalities are also different. Like when I'm over here saying like, there's no fucking way I'm taking a plea. Okay. But if I did it, would I take a plea in my personality? Well, I don't even know how I would never do something like that. So I don't even know how to answer that. I also think anybody that does this is a pussy. So maybe it would, you know, go hand in hand then. I just can't get over the fact that 10,000 people were coming in to pick from this jury. Like 10,000. 10,000. So So mark it down, guys. We all have a date together. What do you think? Jen, how have you been, baby doll? Love you, Jen. This is mind-blowing. I know, isn't it? It's pretty mind-blowing. It's pretty mind-blowing that it would take 2.5 years to get to this point. And I also find it really, really mind-blowing that Ann Taylor and her team would put all like, it's one thing to try to save somebody's life. It's another thing that, like, if you believe the state's theory, they have like, everything that she was writing in all those documents. That's why I hope that Brian lets her talk a little bit, you know? I hope that she talks a little bit about I hope that she has some words to talk about mainstream media, that they came for her career in the beginning and they made some shit up. I hope that she doesn't give them the time of fucking day. Ann Taylor, I mean, she just saved Brian's life. I wouldn't want that on my conscience. Like, I don't know, like, I think there's a lot of ways to look at it. The date for sentencing, they have decided on July 23rd, 2025. I believe the chat slowed down to 60 seconds. I mean, I don't like when it's at like 2 and 3 minutes. I just, the chat's at 60 seconds. I mean, if the state only had what we think that they had, then Maddie, Ethan, Xana, and Kaylee. I mean, maybe this is, if we read between the lines of why they did the plea deal, is that it seems like they didn't want to take a chance at losing and having him walk. And then the leak put them over the edge. I don't know. More stuff will come out. What's up, Toes? How you doing? I hope you're doing right. Yep. Oh, there's tons of red flags, you guys. Tons of red flags. Hope you're doing well, Toes. July 23rd. What a day. Talking about his car being like meticulous. I don't believe Bill Thompson for a second. Let me see the pictures of his car being so meticulous. Let me see. We saw his car. We saw his car, like, what do you call it? Driving from Idaho to Pennsylvania. That car was filthy on the outside, right? And then when he walks up to the window, like there's stuff all over. You know, like I put zero stock into somebody like Bill Thompson. Bill Thompson is a rat. Okay. Bill Thompson has literally been in that position for how many fucking years? Bill Thompson is his pattern of behavior, who he is. He's a plea dealing dude. Okay. I would have just loved to see that man do some arguing, ask some questions. He's like, "No, Josh, I'm talking here. This is my rodeo." And then there's Ashley Jennings sitting right next to him. Yeah. Bill Thompson to retire on July 24th. He's having a party. Speaking of people retiring, Fry lost the sheriff's race, and he's like, "All right, now I'll go be the chief of police in in Washington over there, Richland." I just shake my head at that shit. I just shake my head. That's double dipping. I thought you were gonna like retire and enjoy, like, you know, like you guys are just all full of shit, man. Why would you leave being the chief of police in Moscow? Like, you're the man. You got Brian Kohberger, man. I'm gonna retire, and then I'm gonna go run for sheriff, lose that race. That's horrible if you can't even win that race, because everybody should be like, "Oh my God, yeah, you're the guy that made our town safe again." Loses a race and then goes, and I'm gonna be police chief in some other fucking podunk little area. You know. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. You guys need to go back and check out that short. Bill Thompson and the band, they're going to be back together this summer. He's going to get a couple. He thought he wasn't going to be playing this year. He's playing. He's playing. Do you think the roommates will get offered book deals? I think if they want them, yeah. I wonder if the roommates, because the burglary's on there, and that's what they're the victims of. I want to know if they're going to give some victim impact speeches, because I would. I'd be up there saying, fuck you, Brian. All these fucking people out here think that we fucking had something to do with it. And you disgusting, perverted fuck. Like, I would just be going ham, you know? Just tell them that we don't know you. We've never met you. We didn't fucking help you with this shit, you sick fuck. I'd be going off. You know? I'd be doing it like the Cementilli sisters did it. I'd be using crazy language. You know? I'd come in there with some Borgs. You wish we would have partied with you. Maybe we should have just acted like we were your friends. You wouldn't have killed us then. You know? I don't know. Payne was in attendance. You guys see Payne back there? Payne was there. They had an Amazon gift card that bought a K-bar knife in March. Then who didn't start? I mean, then they have him Googling for a knife after the fact, but he never bought it. I want to know who the fuck Papa Rogers is. Why didn't he ask if he was Papa Rogers? Jennings was in disbelief. Jenny's in a shock phase. Lovely Libra. Can we do anything to get the in? Innocence Project to prioritize this case. Maybe if all of your subs sign a letter, you write, I feel he is used to jail now and willing to protect whoever else may be in the or family being threatened. This case is definitely gonna, I don't even think you need to persuade somebody. I mean, this case has interest, and I think that if you talked about that, hey, there's this other DNA, I think it would take Brian. You guys don't understand that, right? The Innocence Project would need to hear from Brian and say, oh wait, I said I would take this plea deal so I could save my life. Okay. Now that I have my life that I saved, now I'm going to work on my case. I don't know. I just know that there's no fucking way I'd ever plead guilty if I didn't do something. Murder. Fuck out of here. But again, my personality. Thank you so much, moderators. Much love. We'll be live later. I think we can, those that couldn't watch it live, I'll replay it tonight. And, yeah, we'll talk more then. I'll give a shout out to Janet, $10 Cash App. Rhonda, $10 Cash App. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go have some lunch. Annie Potts is losing her dick over there. Annie Potts is sending me pictures, 14 pictures. I fucking love her. She's like, what is Payne doing? Annie, I fucking love you, man. Fucking love you. Much love to everybody. I heard about the Diddy verdict. He's gonna have a freak off. I mean, who knows? I got my dollhouse back here. I should raffle it off. I want to raffle off the dollhouse. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a nice night. Until later. Well, have a nice afternoon. And then we'll be back live later. Alrighty? Alrighty then. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. Oh, I'll grab that really quick. Hold on. Sorry I missed you right there at the end. 24-month member. Fear, feeling trapped by narrative that paints you as a monster, can make you believe and feel the only way to protect your family would be sacrifice. I would think it'd be worse for my family, you know, because nothing in that court case was going to come out that he was seen going in the house, he was seen coming out of the house, he knew those people. I just hope the victims are looking down and that maybe this can begin for people to start healing. All right, until later. Peace out.